Good day, Junior Techies. I'm Mrs. Brimacombe. We are going to look at VAT, Chapter 11, Activity 6. This question consists out of question 6.1, VAT concepts, and question 6.2, speedy traders, where we need to complete question 6.2.1 and 6.2.2. Now, if we start with question 6.1, VAT concepts. Indicate if the following items are VAT exempt or zero rated items. Again, it's important that you make sure that you study your theory. These are easy marks to get in an exam. You should know what does it mean when we say VAT exempt and zero rated items, and what will be regarded as VAT exempted and zero rated items. So if we look at the first one, public road transport, that is VAT exempt. Fruit and vegetables is zero rated, so VAT is charged but at 0%. Interest on fixed deposit is VAT exempt. Question 6.2. Brendan Lee is the owner of Speedy Traders. The information relates to the VAT period ended 30 September 2022. The bookkeeper of Speedy Traders calculated the amount payable to SARS to be $98,165. The internal auditor found discrepancies in the calculations. So take note the different ways in which VAT can be asked. Here, VAT has been calculated, but it's been calculated incorrectly. So now we need to look at all these transactions to correct that amount. Transaction number 1. VAT on shop rent was not taken into account. The rent amount of $20,700 was inclusive of that. Inclusive of that means it's including VAT. So first, to work out the VAT amount, we have to say times 15 divided by 115. Now, rent expense means a payment was made. Therefore, VAT input will be debited. And if that input is debited, it means my VAT control account will be debited. Why is this important to understand now? If that control account is debited, it means that it will decrease the balance that was calculated incorrectly. So 2,700 must be shown in brackets. So yes, it's added to your VAT input. Your assets will increase, but that will have a negative effect on the amount payable to SARS. Number 2, goods were returned to suppliers for $3,900 excluding VAT. The VAT amount of $585 was recorded as $858. So what is happening here? The VAT was recorded. Goods returned to our suppliers means that we would have credited that input. But now we've credited with the wrong amount. We've credited with 858 and it should have been 585. So we have overstated the credit side with 273. That input will be debited, which means our assets will increase. But what effect will that have on the VAT control account? If that input is debited, it means my VAT control account will be debited. That will have a negative effect on the balance. So for number 2, returns to suppliers, make sure you show your calculations, and that 273 must be shown in brackets because that will decrease the amount payable to SARS. Number 3, VAT on a vehicle purchased by the business was not recorded. The cost, $299,000, including VAT. So to calculate the VAT amount, we have to take the amount including VAT times 15 divided by 115. Now this transaction was omitted. We are entitled, if we are that vendor, registered as a VAT vendor, to claim that VAT if we're going to use that vehicle for business purpose. This means that that input would be debited with $39,000. Because that input is debited, the VAT control account will be debited. That means that the amount payable to SARS would be minus 39,000. It will have a negative effect on that balance which we've calculated incorrectly. Transaction number 4, VAT of 3,450 on bad debts recovered was on the wrong side in the VAT output account. So what makes this a little bit more challenging is if you don't know where is bad debts recovered supposed to go in the VAT output account. When bad debts is written off, we can get a reduction in the amount payable to SARS. But when we've recovered that money, it means that that money is now owed to SARS. That output should then be credited. So if this was recorded on the wrong side, it means that my VAT output account was debited incorrectly. To correct this, we now need to take it out by crediting that output. But now, by taking it out, we've only cancelled that transaction. We still need to show that the bad debts recovered, the VAT amount is payable to SARS. That's why you need to times this by 2 to correct the error. Because VAT output is credited, it means that my VAT control account will be credited. So no brackets, it will be plus 6,900. Number 5, VAT of 3,600 was incorrectly added to a sale of 24,000. The sale of 24,000 was subject to a trade discount of 6%. So what is happening here? We've calculated 24,000 times 15%. The VAT amount is 3,600. And because this is sales transaction, that money collected is owed to SARS. But that 24,000 was subject to a trade discount of 6%, which means that we have actually overstated this. So what needs to happen here now? There's different ways in which you can approach this. If you take 24,000 and you times it by 94%, it means that the VAT payable to SARS should have been 3,384. But we have incorrectly shown it now as 3,600, which means we've overstated it by 216. If my VAT output is debited, it means that the VAT control account will be debited, therefore minus 216 to the amount which was calculated incorrectly. Another way that you could have calculated it is by taking the 24,000 and you say times 6%. That equals the amount, the trade discount, which we should have subtracted. Now that is excluding VAT. We still now need to times it by 15% to find out the VAT amount, and it gives you exactly the same answer. Once we've done all the transactions, we can now calculate the correct amount which is payable to SARS. Make sure that you include the incorrect amount, minus, plus, minus, equals correct amount payable to SARS. Question 6.2.2. The accountant came across a document for a tablet, screen protector, and a cover for the tablet purchased from the Apple Store by Brendan for his daughter for varsity for 32,000 cash. Brendan said that the VAT amount 4,800 must be regarded as input VAT. Further investigation revealed that similar documents were regularly entered in the books over the past year. Now, what is the problem here? There's no issue. If he wants to buy an Apple tablet and a screen protector and a cover for his daughter, that is fine. But then it must be shown as drawings. We cannot claim that VAT because it's for personal use. So what advice should you give the accountant? These documents must not be used to claim input VAT. Brendan must be advised not to submit these documents as it's illegal to claim VAT on personal items, engaging in unethical practices to defraud SARS. Business entity principle, the owner's personal finances must be kept separate from the business. He must advise Brendan to declare the error to SARS and to pay over the amounts due before the SARS discovers the fraud. This concludes now this chapter on VAT. I hope that you have a better understanding of VAT and see the different ways in which it could be asked. Your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.